Now arrives the hour of action.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it.
For depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury.
To subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws.
All experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
And we're going to take our country back from these people.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Marches Live. Before I get to the Wheel of Judiciary conclusion, I want to talk about the guest on tomorrow's show. Yeah, I'm switching times again because we had to reschedule the original guest as he will not be able to attend the event. But that works out perfectly because I really wanted to have Mr. McCall, here he is here, I really wanted to have him on the show before you hear him speak next week, because you don't want to miss a word this man says. I first heard of Rod on WLINY about a year ago, and then had the pleasure of meeting him and his wife at Wendy Perry's Parental Alienation Symposium in Dallas. He wrote the book For the Love of Eric after his son. And he uses the proceeds from this book to talk at events all over the country about parental alienation and the nightmare that family court and CPS causes families. As one of the original organizers of the event, Rod was top on my list of speakers because of how he tells his story. I mean, the story itself validates why he tells it. But above that, it's how he tells it. It will be a valuable lesson for all of you, and I can't wait to talk with him tomorrow and see him again next week. Thank you, Rod, for being able to do this on such short notice. I have a little...
CPS is called. They do not understand the issues that are associated with parental alienation, the signs, the symptoms, and frequently jump to the wrong conclusion and do not want to fully appreciate that there might be a lot more going on than that they were willing to understand.
So that's that video was taken by Jeff Morgan. I didn't have time to ask permission to use that, but I know Jeff. I'm sure he won't mind. That was him talking to a panel. What do you call it? Slipped my. But talking to a family court about what had happened to him. I didn't record the whole video. But he talks about CPS in that video, which is good to hear, because it's part of his story. His story encompasses all aspects of what we are going through, and I'm not going to talk too much about it until tomorrow, but you won't want to miss it. He's a great guy, Rod McCall, too. Thanks again, Rod. And so now let's get right into the Wheel of Judiciary, or Wheel of Winn, as I like to call the conclusion of this one. So, Gabriella, if you would, please.
Welcome back to Wheel of Judiciary. I am Gabriella, Ted's assistant at the Marchus. Let's go over the answer to the week's Wheel of Judiciary. Question 1 was, it really all stems from what? The correct answer is her own child's case. Prohibition. Understanding mass incarceration. Following the money.
Getting educated and getting hit right between the eyes with my own child's case. And, you know, it started for me with prohibition and educating myself on that, and then understanding mass incarceration and educating myself on that, following the money, that led into one particular mother who came to me, and I couldn't believe what she was saying. I couldn't believe that any organization would literally take on trafficking our children for money. That just never was in the back of my mind. It was never something I believed was happening. I was in the belief or the disposition that if they took your kids, you did something really wrong.
That's
and
the
when this
general
first mom's,
perception.
But that's not the case.
Second question was, well over how many emails in the first 48 hours? The correct answer is, well over 500.
At that moment, my email, I think we were well over 500 in like the first 48 hours.
Wow.
Third question was, fill the streets for a what? Correct answer is bathrooms.
When I see the thousands of people that can stand up and fill the streets for a bathroom, but let our children die, it makes me sick.
Fourth question was, Jennifer's son was charged with first-degree felony murder for doing what? Correct answer is because he told someone where to get pot.
My son was charged with first-degree felony murder because he told someone where to get pot. We won that case because we educated the entire jury, the entire city in Wichita, Kansas, about jury nullification.
Fifth question. What is jury nullification? Correct answer. A jury can vote a defendant not guilty if they do not support a government's law, do not believe it is constitutional or humane, or where the punishment does not fit the crime. Let me tell you a little more about jury nullification. During a typical criminal trial, the judge will issue a set of jury instructions. The judge will tell the jury that they must set aside any personal beliefs and reach a verdict based solely on the facts presented at trial. But sometimes juries disregard these instructions and acquit defendants who clearly broke the law. They might do this because they think the law itself is unjust, or they think it's being wrongly applied to the defendant, that is, the punishment doesn't fit the crime. When this occurs, juries have engaged in the practice of jury nullification. While judges and prosecutors make every effort to weed out rogue jurors, the history of the jury is replete with examples of courageous jury nullification. For example, English jurors refused to convict William Penn when the government prosecuted him for practicing his Quaker religion. Colonial jurors acquitted John Peter Zinger, who was arrested for publishing remarks critical of the royal governor. Northern jurors refused to convict abolitionists accused of violating the Fugitive Slave Act. Today, juries with misgivings about the war on drugs have refused to convict medical marijuana defendants. Why haven't I heard of jury nullification before? Despite this extensive history, modern judges mostly forbid any mention of jury nullification in the courtroom. This has happened in part because of an obscure Supreme Court decision. In 1895, the court ruled in Sparf v. U.S. that juries do have the power to nullify the law. But the ruling also stated that judges are not required to inform the jury of this. Question 6 was, what is the hashtag? Correct answer. The mothers are coming.
And it's the mothers are coming. And it took a lot of mothers tired of their children being ripped away from them. And you know, there are people that have tried to spin all this like this is a father's right thing, this is a children's right thing, this is a parent right. No, it's about us not wanting the government to traffic children.
Question 7 was, what was the outcome of the mayor's son trying to see the mayor's grandson? Correct answer. The child was found dead.
We are so backlogged with children for profit that this is now the second child we've lost to death, found encased in concrete because they have failed to do their job. But that's what you get when you have unexperienced, uneducated people making decisions about abuse that they really should not have the ability to make.
Question 8 was, what prescription medication does Jennifer mention? Answer. Benzodiazepine.
I have 5-year-olds that have been addicted to benzodiazepine. That is absolutely not acceptable.
Researchers discovered that when you take a benzo, your dopamine levels surge, which flood your brain with the feel-good neurotransmitter. This sudden, strong wave of pleasure is understandably rewarding and, to some, can prove irresistible. In fact, researchers found that the addictive power of benzos was similar to that of opioids. Question 9 was, we generally believe that police officers are just doing their job when they kidnap children. Jennifer doesn't accept that excuse. Why? Answer. She has seen those same officers that use such excuses in front of committee hearings fighting against laws that would give them less power.
Because the opposition are the very officers telling me, we don't make the law, we just enforce it. Right. You're absolutely up there testifying against the people, and then you want me to trust you? Watch the committee hearings. Watch all of them come to those committee hearings to fight against legislation that would protect your children, to fight against legislation that would end prohibition.
Question 10 was, why are children put with foster parents nearly 100% of the time when there are direct and indirect family members, and even friends willing to take the children? Answer. Because there is no financial incentive with family, only with stranger danger.
But because if the state chooses to put them with family, they don't get paid.
Question 11 was, what is a motion in limine? Answer. It is a motion filed by a party to a lawsuit which asks the court for an order or ruling limiting or preventing certain evidence from being presented by the other side at the trial of the case.
Is that certain information that the prosecutor may not want the jury to know? Like, for example, in my son's case, those 2 individuals that came in and fired 29 rounds, they were gang members. They were active gang members.
Wow.
And do you know the jury was never told that they were active gang members because the judge approved the prosecutor's motion in limine to keep that from the jury?
Question 12 was, why is Jennifer going to retain attorneys for all of her grandchildren who are in school? Answer. So DCF/CPS cannot violate a child's right to life, liberty and pursuit of happiness by interrogating them without representation.
They will not have the pleasure of coming to my grandchildren's school and yanking them out of a classroom to persuade them, instill lies in their head or twist their words into something it's not. They will not get that opportunity, and that's what parents really need to recognize. When the children are represented by legal counsel, DCF doesn't have free reign anymore.
Question 13 was, what are Jennifer's thoughts on the Kansas task force? Answer. Not a lot of hope.
I don't have a lot of hope.
Yes, Senator Alisa Fausto agrees with her. She doesn't think that the task force is going to do anything.
People need to understand that these committees, when they're comprised of the individuals that are committing the crime, they're not going to be held accountable. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to change anything without one hell of a fight. Now, are we prepared to give them that? Yes. I'm prepared to give them every ounce of fight I got in my body to save these children, because those children are our future. Yep. Those children will grow up and interact with our children. And when they do, and they're on psychotropic drugs and they show up at the Batman movie, is your kid going to be next? Right.
Question 14 was, what percent of the 7,000 children in Kansas had cases of substantiated abuse? Answer: 94.1%. That's 413 children who simply do not belong there. Kansas isn't the most populated state with 2.9 million people. Total population of Kansas in CPS custody is 0.24%. Using those figures in California, 94,741 children are in CPS custody. 5,590 of them for absolutely no reason. We need to be putting children with families for free, instead of foster parents for profit.
Exactly. Well, we have 7,000 taken in Kansas, and only 94.1% had substantiated abuse.
Wow.
Question 15 was, how many children disappear every year? The answer is hard to determine because of factors like more than one call for the same child are recorded as one each. ABC reports that according to the FBI, over 800,000 children go missing every year just in the United States. That's 2,000 a day. MissingKids.com reported 465,676 entries in 2016.
When I got the report and the statistics showing me that over 400,000 children disappear every year, and we got police officers running around kidnapping children for money, and we got police officers running around arresting people for a plant, we have got our priorities straight messed up.
Question 16 was, what is the term for caseworkers, at least in Texas, that is used? It is a somewhat child-friendly term. Answer: ICU worker.
ICU workers is what they call them for the kids. If the kids don't see one of these ICU workers, they don't get their federal incentives. So they need a giant team of people. So they bring in more and more children to raise more and more revenue. Then they need more and more workers, instead of having a handful of people who take the children and puts them with extended family and not have any incentive money, not be spending $100 billion a year stealing people's children. They could be spending nothing placing children with their families.
Thank you for playing the new Judiciary. Please let us know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now back to Ted. So hot.
Thank you, Gabriella. She really helps me keep things on track, since I have a tendency to go way off it. That would have probably taken me an hour to get through 16 questions, because I would have wanted to comment on every single one. I just have to get her better with the cue cards. Committee hearings. Rod McCall was speaking in front of a committee hearing. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. That will probably bother me for the rest of the night that I messed that all up. But there it is. That's the new Wheel of Judiciary. So if you were able to play the game, you sent an email to the marches, or the march.us@gmail.com, and then commented on the YouTube channel. We did get a few comments, so check that out. If you played, then you probably won. I'll tell you that much. So congratulations, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern with Rod McCall. I cannot wait. There's his name right there at the top. You guys won't want to miss this. He's speaking at the event. I don't know at which area, but it doesn't matter what area. If he's speaking, you don't want to miss it, and I'll be there too. You guys have a great night. Thank you for joining me tonight. And look at that. We're just under 20 minutes. Love you guys. See you tomorrow at 8.